Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo.
Oh my God!
If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will sing the phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow. Whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Hey, everybody, welcome into another of these here episodes of this here podcast that we like to call the Plotaholics podcast. I, of course, am Shane Wilson, and I'm joined, as always, by the sunglasses to my guy, Patterson, Brian Tan.
Heyo. I am Spartacus, by the way.
You make me look cooler. You bring a certain panache to the pod.
Well, I appreciate
pod
that,
panache, if you will.
Hey, that's a great kind of panache to have.
It is. Panashty. But regardless, this week, Mr. Tan, we are now
almost to our final week.
We're turning the corner here. We're getting there. We're getting there for sure. This week,
because next week's a gapper. It's a bridge gapper to our September stuff,
which is interesting because looking now, I feel like we have an extra week in the mix. We might have to throw something into next week because the following week really should be our gapper.
Yeah, that's true. So we're
going into overtime.
Oh, snizzy! Schnizzy
so
Danielson.
We will make a judgment call.
Yeah, we'll see how we can make it go. We'll see how we can do with that.
Yeah, for sure. But for this week, Mr. Tan, we are discussing the 1996 film That Thing You Do.
You doing that thing you do. Dude, that is such a catchy ass song, man. I love that song.
I was thinking about that earlier today. Whenever I was watching it, I thought, this song is a bop. For sure.
It is. It does about make you bob your head and, make you want to do some of that, doing some of that dancing. And the backup vocals are tight. Dude, this is a bizzer, man. This is a 60s banger for sure.
It's a jam. I mean, it's very sort of paint by numbers 1960s tune.
Yeah.
But it is a banger.
That's what makes it so good, because you figure in the 90s, there was a time in the 90s where a lot of the 60s stuff was starting to sort of come back. And that happens every decade. Whatever was popular, 20, 30 years ago starts to come back in. Because, a lot of the peace and love stuff from the 60s and, the bell bottoms that sort of came in, and the peace and love in the 70s started to really make their way back in the 90s. You saw a lot of that with Lenny Kravitz and, a lot of the more mellow musicians of the time.
Right.
So I think that's why this song and even this film is so delightful. This is that nouveau in niche for the time period.
Yeah, I had not watched this movie in a number of years.
I think I might have watched it like last year.
Yeah, it would have been
maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago.
This was one of the first DVDs that I got from Netflix.
Really?
Yeah.
Like when Netflix first
started, yeah. This was one of the first things that showed up at the house.
You know a DVD I got? My very, very, very first Netflix one?
What's that?
Clerks.
My very, very, very first DVD from Netflix was Office Space.
Nice.
This little ditty, if you will.
About Jack and Diane?
Yeah. Okay, so
Written and directed by the great Tom Hanks, dude.
Right. I think
And
maybe that's where we start.
Reason. Yeah, I think that's another reason why this movie is so. Everything about this movie is so loving and lovable because it's Tom. I swear, if you don't like Tom Hanks, I don't think I want to know you.
Yeah, this dude is like obviously he's just like hella wholesome, right?
He's just hella everything. Well, not even wholesome. I wouldn't even say he's wholesome. He's just that dude that everyone can get behind.
Yeah, but I think that he is kind of wholesome.
Well, when he's not, yeah, because I mean, even when he yelled at the paparazzi when they almost knocked over Rita Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like standing up for his woman, right? Like,
yeah,
and in a not toxic way, right? Like he's
right.
Like,
and I was just getting ready to say that. I was getting ready to say that too, because you notice any guy in the last 15 years or so, if he stands up for the woman that's in his life, oh, it's just toxic masculinity, But when Tom Hanks stands up for his wife, it's okay.
Yeah, and he's.
Even his son's bullcrap doesn't touch him.
That's also that guy. What a freaking nightmare!
I swear, if that were my kid, I'd just be like, ugh.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he is a little bit like that with that kid. Honestly,
he probably is. He's just like, I just can't. I just can't with you.
So we love Tom. He's obviously wrote, this is his feature film writing and directorial debut.
CC.
He and very I mean, we'll get into the story of it all in a little bit, but I think like this is just such a breezy film. Like it's just so easy to watch.
It really is.
It's fun. It's exciting.
It's fun. It's not. It gives you a message without being heavy. It does what you want a movie to do. It knows what it is.
At least one of these kinds of movies. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
We got to hear at least snippets of That Thing You Do.
Yes.
Something like 10 times in this movie.
Yeah.
Because like one of the major plot points is that Hanks's character, Mr. White,
he becomes their manager.
He does. He doesn't want them to record new music.
No.
Until much later. Like they are promoting the shit out of this song.
Right.
And so we get to hear it so many times.
A lot.
It's interesting though, because I've complained in weeks past about devoting so much film time to musical performances. Mm-hmm. But here's a movie that does it in a better way than a lot of the other ones that I've complained about, because it makes use of the montage. Right. So like, even though they play this song or we hear a lot of musical performances, it is also using visual cues to move the story along.
Right. And I think also what it does a great job in not just playing the song for us to death. It plays like different parts of it. But then when we're moving the story along, the same band is doing different songs, which are good tunes. Maybe not as much of a banger as that one, except for the one that Leo sings, the one that Steve Zahn takes lead on. Yeah. That's a banger tune.
It is a banger.
That is a banger ass tune right there. Like, and I see why that was the B-side of that 45, man. That was on. But much to your point though, we get different songs moving the story in the passage of time along. But when we're in the moment, that's the song that's focused on. So we don't feel like we're hearing it to death. But at the same token, we're getting that this is why they're a one-hit wonder because of this. But the thing is that Tom Hanks's character, Mr. White, he's not even so much sabotaging the group. When you have a hit song, that's what you do.
Well, especially in the day and age that they were in, it was not overnight that like songs didn't debut at number one in the 60s, right? Like you had to grind that shit out. You would grind that shit out until it peaked and started to go back the other direction, and then you would release something else.
Right, and that's exactly what they did, and that's exactly what he did. And the thing is that when you get some of these guys, he's one of the few characters that you see that are in the music industry that he's not slimy. He's just, it's all professional.
He's just a businessman. Like he understands the business. He knows how to work it.
And he compartmentalizes his relationships with them.
Right.
Because he hates Lenny. He hates him,
he does.
but he never straight out disrespects him. He hates Jimmy, never flat out disrespects him except when Jimmy earns it. He likes Guy, but he never fawns over him. He gives him compliment, but he treats them all the same. Even TB Player.
God,
hilarious.
What a funny joke.
It really is. Like, and as a bass player, it kind of pisses me off, to be honest. But
he's never given a name beyond that.
Right. But the funny thing is that he's indifferent about him because he knows he's short term. But again, never disrespects him. He treats them all the same. He plays to their strengths, and he knows how to work their personalities to get the most out of them.
Yeah. So
he's a good character. He's a very good character.
Absolutely, he is. The rest of this cast, I mean, you hit on a lot of them just now. Steve Zahn.
I love Steve Zahn.
I think he's so good, dude.
Underutilized in film, especially like there was a time where you saw Steve Zahn in everything. And now you don't see him in much, and that's really disappointing.
We're going to get Steve Zahn again during our Jack Black Timber when we do Saving Silverman, and I can't wait for that movie.
I cannot wait for some Steve Zahn. We got to do some more Steve Zahn, because Steve Zahn has had some great films. Right off the top of my head, Riding in Cars with Boys with Drew Barrymore. Great film. Like Steve Zahn, and his role in Daddy Daycare, it cannot be, like, I'm sorry, as great as, and I know I'm shifting, but I have to speak how great he is in that film, because with Eddie Murphy and Jeff Garlin, as great as they are, and as great, that movie is nowhere near as good without Steve Zahn in it.
We've had him a couple of times, I think, at least once, and we always talk about how good he is at just being that sort of... That guy. Like, he's so good at just being that guy. He's a trip.
He really is.
You got Liv Tyler here. You got Charlize Theron.
Charlize Theron in her earlier days, where she was just gorgeous, but she wasn't really setting things apart.
Yeah.
And you don't like her as a character either. She's kind of, but at the same token, Guy, played by Tom Everett Scott, this was his feature film debut. And he's been in a few things since then, but I think this is the movie that he's always going to be known for. Yeah, but
he's
off-putting with her.
He is, but this role was like tailor-made for this kid.
It was made for him.
He just embodies this charismatic drummer effortlessly. He's totally believable in this part.
Cool.
Super
but not
cool.
A jerk.
I'm like, I want to be that cool, right?
I want to start a band with this guy.
When he's got those shades on and he starts hitting that, like, the up tempo riff.
Oh,
I'm like,
man.
dude, like, of course this dude is cool as shit.
And then, of course, Giovanni Ribisi. Now, here's the thing. I introduced the kiddo wanted to watch Ted. So we put on Ted, and every time I see Giovanni Ribisi on screen, I see him with the creeper mustache, gyrating his hips to Tiffany now.
Yeah.
So in this movie, to not see him do that, it kind of disappoints me, but I understand why.
Yeah.
But even, I feel kind of bad for him, how, like, he kind of gets crapped on. It's like, wow, man, it took Chad, Giovanni Ribisi's character, it took him like 2 weeks to learn this song. Meanwhile, Guy's just like, click, click.
He is actually super funny. Like, I love that he ends up, like, going and applying for work at his
it's like they switch places. They switch places.
But then, like, and I think, oh, this guy's just like trying to, like, take over Guy's spot in the town or whatever. And he like ends up at his parents' house, like, watching TV with them. Like, it's so funny.
Isn't it kind of implied that he's dating his sister?
I guess so. His arm is also broke the whole time.
Yeah, well, I think their success was only...
It's pretty quick, for sure.
Yeah, because at one point they said, 2 months ago we were still in Erie.
Right.
So I think this happens over a span of, like, not even 6 months, maybe 6 months at max.
Yeah.
So, and with the way you figure back then, people seem to be in casts and stuff way longer than they are now.
Yeah.
Like, all right, put this on for like 2 weeks, you're fine.
Right. I would also like to point out how freaking hot Rita Wilson is in this movie.
Oh my God, Rita Wilson, like, dude, Was it just me, or were you feeling real jealous of Tom Hanks? Like, dude, you get to go home.
I didn't even recognize her at first. I was like, who is this chick?
Because Rita Wilson has always just been sort of unassuming. She's like the quiet sexy.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the quiet cool of Adam Sandler's character in Airheads.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that one for the Gapper?
Okay.
It's a musical film.
It is a musical film, technically. Yeah, we can do Airheads, certainly.
Nice. But yeah, Rita Wilson is like, hey, how you doing? How you doing?
That dress, dude. I like to believe that she just had that Tom Hanks was just like, go home, go to the sex closet, pull out the black dress.
And then he looks to the hairdresser and goes, you know how I want it to look.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, and even Colin Hanks was in this. Like the whole family was in this film except for Chet Bomba Club.
Right. Yeah, I was looking for who was the other? Was I wrong? But did I see Bryan Cranston in this?
Yes, he was. He played Gus Grissom.
Yeah, on that
big variety show that was like when Jimmy really showed his ass.
That's right.
Oh man. Let's talk about that dude for a second. Johnathon Schaech or Shock or whatever, however you say his name, who played Jimmy. This guy, I really feel like, because he's been in a lot of stuff after this, but he's been in some stinkers.
He's also like hella handsome. Like, what is that?
He really is. Like, how are you that sexy and you're getting put in like bad
I think
movies?
that we have a nomination here for our second slot on the Silver Fox Mount Rushmore.
Oh man, I definitely want to. I could definitely put him up there with Bradley Whitford,
who is obviously number one.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
will never be challenged.
No. You will never challenge Bradley Whitford.
You will never dethrone our boy Bradley Whitford.
But here's some of the stinkers that he's been in since That Thing You Do. Roadhouse 2, where he plays Dalton's son. I'm trying to find the name. Day of the Dead Bloodline, which actually wasn't that terrible, but it was still kind of crappy.
Homie has hella credits.
He's got a ton of credits. Like, he's been in a whole bunch of like B flicks and like, you know, what would be considered direct to DVD.
Right. And like less successful sequels, right? Like,
yeah, well, Day of the Dead Bloodline.
Right.
Which is actually better than the Day of the Dead remake. The Day of the Dead remake is butt.
A lot of TV movies.
But this one, it's not bad because...
Like, look, he's even in a movie called After Sex, which is arguably the worst sequel to Sex. Like, who would want to be in the after part? Like, and not be in the during part?
Yeah, After Sex is not a good place to be.
Like, I mean, it's fine as long as you were there for the first part.
Right. But
you just don't want to show up late, you know?
Yeah, but it's the annoyance of like, now you gotta get a shower, you're sticky.
Yeah. He's in 8mm 2. He's in Poison Ivy 2. He's in Roadhouse 2. He's in like it's
just homie
could not nail down like the original film in any of these franchises.
No.
Chrome Skull Laid to Rest 2, which does imply the existence of something called Chrome Skull Laid to Rest 1. And they were like, this did well enough to get a sequel. You know what? We don't want to make any more. Let's get the franchise killer Johnathon Schaech in here.
Yeah, Poison Ivy 2.
Johnathon Schaech, the franchise killer.
Yeah, he's up there like with like what didn't they say that Ted McGinley was like, you knew that your show was gonna die when he came in. Right. But his run on Married with Children was on point. Like, no, this is where you take this guy with. This is the guy you want for your lead when you're going to kill your franchise. It's so bad with this guy, with Johnathon Schaech, that a lot of these movies that are listed as shorts were meant to be feature length, but as soon as he got on camera, it ended. I think Star Wars is over when Disney puts him in one of the movies. Oh God. Which is terrible because he's not a bad actor. I mean, also, why does he not in every single movie say, "Are you ready for the shakedown?" Yes. Oh, he played Jonah Hex in the DC Arrowverse, which was actually, but he was actually better as Jonah Hex than Josh Brolin was. Was he in an early season or? He was in
2018?
season 1, season 2, season 3 of Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow sort of defied the curse.
Yeah,
But Batwoman did not.
Yeah, then he was in, but he was a part of, but he was in the Batwoman that was part of the Crisis on Infinite Earths, so that doesn't fully count.
Gotcha.
It was part of the ensemble crossover time, and he was on Blue Bloods, and Blue Bloods is still going strong.
Okay, so there's some things that are like too big to fail.
He can be on TV. He can't be in movies.
Yeah,
can't put him in movies. So if he gets into the,
what is it about this guy? Because like I think that like he's good in this movie.
He's really good in this movie. I think
he's obviously got like the Hollywood look. Like, why is this dude not playing like hot dads in every movie?
I think it's.
Why do we keep giving it to Mel Gibson? Give it to this guy.
I think maybe he just wants to be. I just want to do projects that I feel are off the beaten path that speak to me. I think he's that guy.
Maybe
I think he's that guy. And that's not. And I mean, hey, that's
nothing wrong with that.
You getting paid. Sure. You getting paid.
It almost has to be like by design because I feel like he's good enough to do whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, I would definitely cast him if one of my books became a movie. I would definitely cast him as like a villain because he makes a good villain. Because in this, isn't it obvious between him and Mo Green? Because Mo Green, the guy that played Mo Green, is in this film. Wouldn't they be the villains? Like he's probably like your main villain. And like Mo Green is just kind of a dick, so he's a secondary villain.
Yeah.
Because he is. I'm sorry. When you make Liv Tyler cry, I want to punch you in the face.
True.
Him and Sexy Rexy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean he's good here. I mean everybody in the band is good.
Oh, absolutely.
Here.
Except now, there's one thing that I definitely want to go to when we're talking about the band.
Yeah.
When they had to get their replacement for TB Player.
Yeah.
And they got Scott the Wolfman Pell. Now, you know he looked way too old to be in that band.
Right. Yeah.
Like, these guys are supposed to be early 20s.
Yeah, and they were all a little bit hesitant, and then he, like, busted out the craziest riff I've ever heard, and they were just like, all right.
Yeah, that's fun. You know what that kind of reminded me of? That episode of South Park, remember when Stan was playing Guitar Hero?
Yeah.
And they replaced Kyle, and he was like, he's amazing at Guitar Hero. No, I don't know. Give him something. He just goes...
Dude, for real, that Guitar Hero episode of South Park is so fucking funny.
It really is.
Like when Randy like starts playing "Carry On My Wayward Son,"
he's like rocking it, and they're like, "Yeah,
but like he's doing it like he's just pulled out a real guitar, and he's like."
He just pulled out his guitar, pulled out his amp, and like tuned it real quick.
And he expects people to be impressed. Like he's actually playing it right. And the way I think Randy's my favorite character anyway.
Randy became at first for me it was Cartman, and then it became Randy because Randy's the biggest breakout star.
Yeah, I think between him and Butters.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say him and Butters.
So funny.
Yeah. But when this dude comes out, he really rocks that 4-string like it's a 5-string. Just like, yeah, okay. So anyway, we're just gonna ignore this guy. Looks like he's way too old to be hanging out.
Right.
Like that's kind of like when Sebastian Bach got onto the band and Gilmore Girls, where like they're all like in their teens, and this dude is like 38 years old.
Yeah.
It's like it looks out of place, but it still just works for like a performance because then the band breaks up.
Right.
So the whole point, the whole shebang of this is literally, this band needs a new drummer. Because their original drummer breaks his arm leaping the what are those things called again?
The parking meters.
Yeah, leaping the parking meters and breaks his arm. And 1960s Erie looked like a kind of a nice place to live.
Yeah, it did. It was kind of nice there.
Yeah, I mean nowadays I won't go to Erie because I just have no desire to ever go there. But
right,
nice.
So I mean, it all sort of hinges on this one act, right? Like the fact that he breaks his arm, he can't play, so they get a replacement for him, and of course, the replacement is our lead guy, and he comes in and he learns to play the song super fast. He's like a very good.
He's a jazz drummer,
right?
And at first, he's doing it real slow, and you can see he's bored.
Yeah, is the implication that he's self-taught because he's just kind of like dicked around with these albums?
I think they imply he's self-taught, but he's just really. I think it's Yeah, I think he's self-taught. He's just because I think what they say is that him and his uncle bought him an album.
Yeah.
And he got really into it, and then he was just hooked. So yeah, I believe he is just sort of self-taught.
I want to talk about that a little bit because we have so this movie is meant to be a lighthearted sort of comedy adjacent film. It's not a straight up comedy, I wouldn't think, but it's supposed to be lighthearted, breezy.
It's not
fun.
a drama. It's not a dramata, but it's not a comedy.
Right.
It's just kind of there.
But what I would say is like I appreciated the way that they gave a nod to African American influence in this genre and like in his like play style with not just the album at the top, but with him meeting that guy before it's over with and like getting to meet him and all of that. Like I thought that was nice that it wasn't just like this kid is a prodigy and came up with all of this by himself, right?
Right.
Like here is the influence for that.
Right. And you can even tell by his playing style that he's not really a rock drummer because just the way he holds his sticks, you can tell he's a jazz.
He likes the jazz shuffle, right? Like it's a little bit more of that right, like that, right? But man, like with that dude pops that snare drum at the beginning of that song every time I get hyped for it. I'm like, I totally get why everybody wants to hear this song.
Right, because I'm sorry, the ballad version of that song is trash.
It really is.
Great lyrics, but just garbage.
It's like the Cadillac car song, right? Like
yeah, it really is.
It's just the reverse of that.
It really is. And what's funny is that you got Jimmy. Come on, man! What are you doing?
Like even
I'm making your song better, dude. What the hell do you think
and even
I'm doing?
Chad in the back of the talent show, he's like, it's too fast. But whenever they catch up with him, it's like it's so good.
It's on point, yeah, because you can see, and I hate calling him TB player. That pisses me off so much. Because he's just like, and I've been that bass player where it's like, what are you doing? Oh, now I got it. Here we go. And it was, and I love how they do, and I love like the gradual getting together. Like he's at first, it starts with the lyrics, you know, and it really shows the when their first manager, which was kind of creepy in and of itself, was talking about the
Steve Zahn is like, this guy has a really nice camper.
I was just thinking, like, what are you guys talking about? We're definitely, this guy has a camper, a nice camper. We're signing this. Like, and
then cut to external shot, and it's like a shitty camper.
That camper is garbage. I mean, it's nice for him, I guess, but I never understood those pickup truck campers. Those cannot be comfortable.
Right.
Like that does not look comfortable. I prefer like even those streamlined campers that look like big metal penises. You know, like the one that the dude in
like the bullet looking ones.
Yeah, the one from Sons of Anarchy that the sheriff was living in.
Right.
Like those don't look comfortable.
Yeah.
But that one really doesn't. But your man had a hookup in there, though. It's almost like Harry Potter put a spell on it, so it looked like it had more room than there actually
exactly.
was.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about conflict in this movie.
Okay,
because, there's a bit, but it's never like aggressive or really angry or really.
It's
forced.
normal life. It's normal life conflict. It's normal life conflict. You got the conflict between Faye and Jimmy, and you have
which would arise right if he's starting to get very popular and go on the road and travel,
right?
And he doesn't want to be like he's afraid of commitment.
Well, he always seemed a little bit indifferent to her. She always seemed more into him.
I did not understand why she was with this guy.
Me either. Like, but how many times have we seen that in our lives, especially late teens, early 20s?
Right. Well, and she's obviously like smitten with him for his talent and music and stuff, right?
She's not seeing him as a person.
Right. And then Guy actually treats her well. So there's this, right? But there's never this like throwdown between them. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
Because ultimately, like you said, Jimmy just doesn't really care about her.
No, not at all.
He's much more interested in music.
Right. The music is his girl.
Right. And then I would say like we said, TB ends up like just going off. Right. He joins the Marines. So he was,
and then disappears hanging out with the other guys. Which
right. And then there's there's sort of like record label conflict where they want them to do one kind of music and then they want to do another kind, and that leads to Jimmy walking.
Well, Jimmy wants to do, like, the other guys are just happy to be there.
They're just happy to be around. Yeah, Jimmy wants to do his original stuff, and so he ends up walking, and by the time he walks, everyone else is either gone into the military or like gone and like married somebody or whatever, which that leaves Guy. And so like I say all of that to say like the conflict is pretty easy. Like it's breezy, right? Like
it's human growth. It's human growth. And
but there's never a moment where like in a lot of these, we've talked week after week as we've watched a lot of these movies about music, about how in a lot of these stories, there's a moment where the musical act has to get knocked down, or they like the fall from grace sort of moment. And none of these guys really have that.
No, the music is a part of who they are, but it never, it takes them in their own directions.
Right.
It's not like Lenny has always just kind of been a goof, and he was there just having fun. So what was the next step? You impulsively get married, going to Vegas.
Yeah.
TB player.
Just call him TB.
Yeah, TB just becomes like, well, I was going to be a soldier anyway, so whatever.
Yeah.
Guy just loves music, and he really takes that next step.
Yeah, he just wants to be a drummer. Like that's really it.
And same with Jimmy, though. Like those two are the real musicians of the group.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you even see at the end they say that Jimmy has a new band.
Yeah.
Who's on the Playtone, and he's on Playtone.
Right, and he's a producer too.
And
right?
he becomes a record producer. Yeah. So it's like, all right then, you know. But there is no huge fall from grace, because even the biggest jerk. It's not he's a jerk because he's a terrible person. I mean, he's just not a good guy.
Yeah.
But he's more into music than anything else, and he becomes successful.
Right.
What's his name? Lenny becomes successful. I mean, I'm sorry. If you're managing a hotel in Vegas, you're making good money.
You're doing well.
And then TB becomes a contractor, doing well. And then
which means that he successfully transitioned out of military life and back into civilian life.
Right. And then Guy becomes he does so well being a successful studio musician that then he becomes a music teacher.
Yeah. So I really love this turn for Guy, because I think a lot of other movies would have put him in another band and had him just like rocket to the top again and like all of that. But I love that he meets up. I think that his meeting with Del Paxton is so important and so insightful. And then whenever they meet each other again at the end of it, and they just kind of have that jam session.
Yeah.
And then like, he's obviously like a very proficient drummer. And so I think it's that meeting with Del Paxton who tells him, you know, he's like, look, man, like bands are going to come and go, like just keep playing. That's what leads him to be a session musician or studio musician. And like that's lucrative work if you can be good at it.
Oh my goodness, yes. Because with a studio musician, you lay down the foundation for like the bands and everything else. And then you don't have to worry about killing yourself by being on the road
and stuff. Right.
No, you put in the work and then you go home. That's your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I believe studio musicians also do some slight composing, like they're in on the composition aspect.
They can be, yeah. I mean, it depends on
if you're good enough.
It depends on what they're working on, I think, because a lot of times, like those session musicians are coming in to help fill out the sound of an album when a band doesn't have all of those pieces already, right? Like, so like I think about like Ed Sheeran uses a lot of studio musicians because he plays acoustic guitar and that's all there is, right?
Right.
And so when you go into the studio to work up an album and you want all of these other sounds, then you have to bring in other people that play all those different instruments.
Right.
Like a house band, right?
Right. And I really like the fact that, you know, he gets the girl and they, you know, they have, each one of these 4 guys has their own happy ending.
Right.
Which is good. Like not one person succeeds over another.
Yeah. Have you watched the extended cut of this?
No, I have not, which is a shock to me.
It is almost an hour longer.
Really?
It's 2 hours and 40 minutes, I think.
Oh, wow.
And it is, it's the Tom Hanks director's cut. And apparently, and I haven't watched it either, but apparently it includes a lot more character development. It focuses a lot more on Guy's initial relationship and how they grow apart and how she falls for the dentist, like more time on that, which I felt like was kind of needed because it happened like sort of off screen.
It did sort of feel a little bit sudden.
And then and more development for him and Faye as well, like their relationship, a little bit more flirting, a little bit like slower build for them so that it felt less sudden whenever that all snapped into place.
Right. I mean, because they did a good job with what they did, because like you can see it sort of happening. But yeah, I would like to see that. It's $15 on.
2.5 hours long is the full version.
It's $15 on Prime. I might pick that up at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I am interested in seeing it.
Yeah,
because that's like a whole ass other movie.
Right, especially for this. Like they did a good job putting this together in an hour and a half. They did a really good job at putting this the theatrical version, which is
for sure
an hour and 47 minutes. So
because what you get in the hour 40 version is you get a clear idea of all of the characters' motivations and where they are coming from, right? And what they hope to achieve. Like you said, Lenny's just along for the ride. He's just there for kicks and gigs mostly. Jimmy obviously wants to express himself creatively. Like the fame is even sort of secondary to him. Like he wants to make his own stuff.
Yeah, and he even says, I'm very hesitant for anything that comes with my music. This is right. That's his baby.
And I don't even think that Guy is really into the fame as much as he just wants music to be how he makes his money. And that's why it's so important that we start the film by watching him work in this appliance shop, right?
Yeah. Where he's good at it, but he's not happy.
Right. He doesn't. And it's that sort of like juxtaposition that like at night when he's doing the books and stuff, like he runs that record. He like drums a little bit at night, you know, and you sort of see that like he's very good at what he does. He's just kind of stuck in this dead end spot. And if he doesn't take it upon himself to switch up the arrangement without asking permission and force everybody else to catch up to him, that none of this would have ever happened. And Faye actually says something to that effect at the end, right?
If you've never joined the band, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
And I think that Guy really goes with the mindset of it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
For sure.
And that just also goes to show how talented he is, because there aren't many ballads you can do that with that will sound better sped up.
Yeah.
I mean, like case in point, In My Bed by Drew Hill. Amazing ballad, but have you heard the dance version of it?
I mean, when you do dance versions of anything, they don't sound great.
It's garbage. I hate it. You lose the...
I mean, a lot of these things you're right. Like a lot of these things are not straight up just speed up the tempo and it'll be fine. Like a lot of them you would have to like change the key. You would have to like to make it fit. You know what I mean?
Right. And no, he was able to just up the tempo, keeping it all in the same key.
You know, a song that I feel like could have just as easily been a ballad in the hands of a different artist, but is like a dance banger in its current iteration is Hey Ya.
By
Outkast or Andre 3000. Like, I think that lyrically that song could have been slowed down and it would have absolutely worked if you lopped off the like shake it like a Polaroid picture part, right?
Right. No, you're absolutely right. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
That song is about so much more than what we realize. It's too. It's a very deep song. Dude, Andre 3000 is like a musical genius.
He really is. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago, how we want more of him everywhere.
Absolutely. You know, one other thing that I really kind of want to talk about is their early day groupie, Roach from The People Under the Stairs. That guy was hilarious.
Yeah.
That dude was so funny. Like at the very beginning where he's heckling the MC.
Yeah.
It's like, you suck, Ken. Eat my shorts. I'll kick your ass. He's like, whoa. But I really like him because like that kind of goes to show in music, you get these people that are really, really passionate about what you do.
For sure. In any sort of entertainment, you do.
Yeah. And he was just bringing folks with him wherever he went. He was just bringing people. And
if you're a creator, then you hope for that kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
For that kind of support.
Absolutely. I would really, really, really love to, because I'm going to be doing a re-release of all of my books in the coming months. And it's like, man, I would really, really love to just have like folks that just like, well, I do have like one or two, and I appreciate them very, very much. Yeah. But it feels good because those are the people that you really want. Those are the people that you create for.
For sure.
So honestly, did they need him? No, but he definitely, I feel that character had a lot to do with their early on success as well.
Yeah.
Because because it really looks like he was just bringing people with him, like pestering them to come and check out this group.
Like bands just don't get even like local attention unless they're starting to fill up venues.
Right. And the fact that you had people filling up a restaurant by the airport.
Right.
Wow.
Right. Because these are like not local people, right? Like they're the people that are coming from Erie to come to the airport are like traveling out of town basically to go to the airport. And then if you're getting any people from the airport, they don't know you.
Right. And most of the time, if you're getting off of work at the airport, you don't want to go to some restaurant and see some local band. Right. But they were. And I have to give a shout out too, man. We got a Mark McClure, aka the older the original Jimmy Olsen from Superman, the 1970s/1980s Superman. And Barry Sobel as well, sort of thrown in there. So shout out to those two guys as well. Like this movie, I think one thing that I really like with the casting and the cameos is that we got a lot of folks that are bangers in their own right. We got Paul Feig, Kevin Pollak, I can't remember the guy's name. Peter Scolari from Bosom Buddies was in it. Bryan Cranston.
Yep. Because this would have been during Malcolm in the Middle, right?
Or just before Malcolm in the Middle.
Right.
So, I mean, there was a lot
that show is kind of underrated, too.
It really is. Like, the theme song is awesome. I love the theme song. And the whole series, and Jane Kaczmarek is so funny.
Yeah, when I revisited it, I watched it again after I had watched Breaking Bad. And I was immediately struck by Bryan Cranston because I always just thought he was like kind of a goof in that show. But he is kind of a goof in that show. But also he's like remarkable in that show. You know what I mean? Like,
Zordon is good, man. New Zordon is great.
There you go.
Let me see here. Cut. Wow, he was also apparently the voice of Fei Long in Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that dude has a wild history. We got to do a Bryan Cranston movie so we can really get into that.
Absolutely. Like, this is definitely a guy who early on in Hollywood was just doing a little bit of everything, just trying to get it going. Because, I mean, he's been on television since like 1980.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at some of the stuff he did, his TV stuff. Chips, Airwolf, love that show. Murder, She Wrote, Return of the $6 Million Man and the Bionic Woman, Hill Street Blues, Baywatch, Jake and the Fat Man, The Flash. He was actually in 2 episodes of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Right.
Walker, Texas Ranger. Like, this dude, he's just been a dude that's a dude doing stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Like, holy crap. Oh, let me see. A Malcolm in the Middle. I'm not even seeing Malcolm in the Middle yet. Where the hell is Malcolm in the Middle? Because that was like late 90s, I thought. I can't find it. I can't find Malcolm.
Are you sure you're looking at his acting credits?
Yeah, I'm looking at his TV credits now. I'm just going to have to look it up because I can't remember when because I know it was on Fox. There it is. 2000. It was 2000. Yeah. So, yeah, but that's still 4 years later he was doing that. So, yeah, it was close to that era.
Yeah. Good stuff there. I mean, I love that guy.
Oh, and I appreciate the fact as well, jumping back to the movie, the fact that his dad, Guy's dad, is like, you and that music and leaving on the radios and leaving on the lights. And then he becomes like his son's biggest fan.
That's another thing, right? Like, because we talked about in the last couple of weeks when we were doing James Brown, right? Like, you're like, is every story about a father-son like going to be like this?
Right.
And like this guy just like didn't get it at first, but then he was super supportive whenever he did, you know?
Yeah, and he's embarrassing himself in front of his wife, daughter, and his daughter's boyfriend, trying to
Right.
play drums with the spoons. And he's I don't know what song he's singing to himself, but it's like, please stop. But I'm
Right.
glad you're into it. I'm glad you're into it.
For sure.
This movie, especially, and we got to give a shout out to, and I'm gonna butcher his name, Oba Babatunde. No, I'm not gonna mess it up. Because we've done Life. Didn't we do Life with Eddie Murphy?
We did do Life, yeah.
So this is the second time we've gotten him in a film. And he's really good in this as well. He's real good in this.
He is. But he also, like, he did that thing, they, like, right at the end, you know?
The fourth wall break?
The fourth wall break. And I was like, yeah, don't do the fourth wall break. But then he did. He was like, oh, those kids, they're going to be banging, you know? Like this.
But at least he didn't say anything. It was just one of those knowing smiles.
Now,
like,
it would have been funny if he had like gone into a full-on narration, like talking to the first narration in the whole movie, and he just like launches into it and then gets cut off halfway through. Like,
right.
Like he's like this guy's actually like kind of a crazy person that like runs like that's the bellhop. And he just like always does narration. Like if you had seen him a couple of times in the movie just talking to himself about like
right. I love the fact this is Lamar. This is my hotel.
Right.
But you know what though? I mean, but I even like that because it really shows that hotel was, dude, them bellhops and everything, they were on point, man. Everything was a go. And
for sure.
He kept everything going. Like so, but sort of circling back and sort of tying it together, this film, it doesn't give you so much that it feels like you're being overwhelmed. And it doesn't give you so little that you feel like you're cheated. This hour and 47 minutes is nice and tight.
It's designed to be airy, breezy fun, and it is exactly that. It's super easy to watch. It's a good time. It's not challenging. It's not meant to be. And it's also not really covering any subject matter that should be.
No.
It also doesn't stray from the things that it shouldn't stray from. Like it does acknowledge African American influence on his drumming. So that's that's a smart choice, and it's a smart way to present that without getting heavy-handed in a comedy, you know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, very, very little to complain about here. The only real complaints I have, and they are like just minor, is that like knowing that this director's cut exists and knowing that it does some of those things that it does, just makes me wish that we had gotten a little bit more of that here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I can totally agree with that. I kind of wish that. I think the one thing that I would probably have done differently with this film, and maybe it shows more in the extended cut, is, and they show a little bit of it in the film where they're starting to how they're enjoying their successes. Jimmy starts to like sort of snuggle up with other musicians and getting to know them. The other musicians kind of sort of ostracize Lenny because he's an idiot. TB is kind of just, he's sort of there. And even a Guy is sort of just like people like him, but it's Jimmy that they're gravitating to.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we would have seen just a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
Like, what about, like, other than that disgusting joke and that disgusting anecdote that Lenny had with Diane Dane.
Yeah.
Like, I get why no one like wanted to be around him after that. You even had, why is he talking to Diane Dane? No! Like, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. Maybe we'll see more of that in the extended edition at some point.
Yeah.
But other than not seeing as much of those things, it was still really, really great.
It was.
Nothing to complain about.
Did you watch the reunion?
No, I did not.
I didn't either. I just remember that it was a thing that happened sort of like early in the pandemic. They started, I think it was maybe part of that Josh Gad thing where he was reuniting the cast of a bunch of these old movies, like The Goonies was a part of that.
Oh, nice.
And just via Zoom. And so they had a reunion here with the cast, the core cast of That Thing You Do. So it might be something to check out if you're interested.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh wow, they raised $25,000 for Noticeability, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping students with dyslexia. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool. I'd definitely like to check that out.
Yeah, so That Thing You Do was made on a $26 million budget, and it made $34.6 million at the box office. It was predictably nominated for Best Original Song at the Academy Awards that year, but it lost. Well, that's a great freaking question.
Let's see here. Academy Awards for Best Original Song. Let's go to the 1990s. 1996.
It's going to be the 97 ceremony.
My Heart Will Go On.
Probably. That sounds about right. That totally checks out, actually. Mm-hmm. It would be hard to beat that one.
Yeah, that was probably
that's a tough year to come out with an original song.
Oh, actually, well, no, 1996. So here's no that so Titanic
That Thing You Do was nominated for in 97, and it won. Like You Must Love Me from Evita is the one that won.
Yeah, there we go. Which again, that would have been different. Dude, I'm sorry, you're going up against Andrew Lloyd Webber. You're not gonna win that fight.
Yeah,
that's
is
a hard fight to win. Yeah, but yeah, My Heart Will Go On.
I don't even remember any of these other ones. My Heart Will Go On would have been the next year, right?
Yeah, My Heart Will Go On was the next one. Yeah, Mirror Has Two Faces. Don't know what that is. One Fine Day. Don't remember what that is. Up Close and Personal. By unfortunately, Diane Warren. As much as I love you, don't know what that is. I don't even know what these movies are.
Because You Loved Me, I think, is Celine Dion's track. Yeah. It was just music and lyrics by Diane Warren.
Whoa, the way you love me. Oh, okay.
No.
No, not that one. Okay, never mind. Well, who cares? I don't remember also, Up Close and Personal, One Fine Day, or
I definitely don't remember any of those movies that these other things came from, other than Evita.
I remember Evita. Yeah, that's about it.
But to be fair, 97 was a long time ago.
Yeah, sadly enough, I was 18.
But anywho, this is the same year, fun fact, that veteran of the Plotaholics podcast, Independence Day, won Best Visual Effects.
Woo! That's awesome.
In a category, it was nominated against Dragonheart and Twister, another movie that we definitely need to do.
Oh my God, we have to do Twister.
Yeah, for sure we do.
You know what? There's a movie series that I think if we did do another shitty movie summer or just like B movie series, we should do the Trancers series.
Oh wow!
Have you ever seen the Trancer? Oh my goodness! It's almost like it reminds me of time travel meets Blade Runner.
Okay.
So it's like almost like a Terminator style. Terminator meets Blade Runner meets a zombie movie.
Oh shit! Okay.
Because the time travel aspect, the futuristic whatever, and then the zombies.
I think next summer we just need to do Disaster Summer, and just do the big disaster movies. Yeah.
Summer of Disaster. Yeah. So Armageddon, Twister,
Volcano,
Dante's Peak.
The Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that.
There are plenty of them. 2012 we could throw in there.
Oh, there you
go. San Andreas.
There you go.
Like we'll get into a lot of shitty movies that summer, and we won't have to call them shitty movies.
No, it's just these are movies where it's all about explosions and stuff.
Yeah, but honestly, some of them are so fun to watch.
Armageddon, for as horribly not scientific,
right,
as it is still kind of fun.
It's moving. Like it is moving.
And it has Liv Tyler, who I wish that I could just look at her and just say, I want to punch Rex Manning. All right.
So then let's see. The Rotten Tomatoes score, 93%.
I think it deserves that.
I agree.
I'm a little disappointed by the audience score, but I also get it. This is what you run into with movies over 20 years old at this point.
So let's get Bartender Smiley in the mix and start wrapping this thing up.
Sounds like a plan, Stan.
The Plotaholics rating system for the movies is a pretty simple system. Basically, they rate movies based on how many shots it takes to get through them. So if you got a good movie and you get through it all the way sober, then it takes 0 shots to get through the movie. And then if you got a really bad movie, then it could take up to 5 shots to get through the whole thing. I think you can try to figure out the middle part yourself. So, what can I get you?
it's just tough.
All right,
and it's really like, it doesn't even really have to be that tough because
it doesn't have to be. It's a good movie. Let's just say that
the existence of this extended cut makes things complicated.
Right. I kind of want to watch I kind of want to put an asterisk by my rating until I watch the extended cut.
Because I feel like if the extended cut didn't exist, I could more easily give this a 0-shot rating.
Correct.
But the thought that there may be a more perfect version of it complicates that.
Well, then why don't I offer this? We could either do Airheads for next week.
Oh, or the extended cut.
Or do the extended cut.
Ooh. You know, what if we don't do that?
Okay.
Because I just watched an hour and 40 minutes of the extended cut and I want to let it rest for a little while. We'll let it breathe.
We're going to let that marinate.
Yeah. Now what we could do is we could like down the road sometime, we'll just we'll revisit it. Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, let's do Airheads next week. That'll be fun. And I think I'm with you. Like, I'm going to give it one shot with an asterisk because it could be that this is the superior version.
There's a possibility.
Because it could be that the 2.5 hour version runs too long and feels bogged down. Right. Because for all of its like skimping on some details in this version, it is so easy to watch it. And that I think is a really important characteristic of a film, like in this genre.
Right. This is a movie that you can put on and just chill.
Yeah.
You're not overthinking things. If you're stressed out, you can put this on, enjoy the good music, enjoy the characters, enjoy Tom Hanks because he's Tom effing Hanks, and just move on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to offer this one. I just hate what they did with the bass player. Like, I can't get over
you're a little bit bitter about that.
I'm very bitter about that. That's
and
why
I took that personally.
I did take it personally. That's why this is getting a 1-shot rating with an asterisk.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, I really appreciate how they show this meteoric rise. And it really is a meteoric rise because it's only within a span of a few months.
Yeah.
And I also look at, man, the time, the money that was put into this, they ain't getting no money coming out of this.
Right.
And, but the fact that this movie really thumbs its nose at a lot of tropes that are in this genre. Yeah. Really says something to me. And I really appreciate it. So this is a one with an asterisk.
Yeah, it's able to show that they were all successful without falling into the like typical traps of like they're all just like slinging their wieners around town, or they're all just getting hammered everywhere they go, or they're all like none of that like super toxic behavior happens. They just all wanted very different things, and so they drifted apart as they became more successful, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. And even when he was even when God did get hammered,
he didn't make any bad choices.
No,
right? He just like talked to his idol.
He was the same guy.
Yeah,
guy. Not to mention the fact that even the guy who's a jerk,
Rita Wilson did have like a solid boner joke though.
She really did. She really did. And I like the fact though that she was working him to take him, and then she's like, "And I lost you."
Yeah, and then whenever he was hammered, she's like, "Well, you're no good. You're no use to me now."
Right. That was so great. But this is a movie that, like, it's hard to say anything bad about. It's really difficult to say anything negative. So yeah, one with an asterisk until I watch the extended cut.
Yeah, I can stand by that. We will then be back next week with
Airheads,
a movie, again, another one that I watched ages ago and have not revisited in quite a while.
It's been a while, but I'll tell you what, I forever will have time for some Brendan Fraser and Steve Buscemi. And I guess Adam Sandler could come too.
Yeah, he's fine. Like, especially like he was sort of on the cusp of becoming like one of the biggest comedic names of that era.
He wasn't super famous yet.
Which means that he was trying at this point.
He was trying a lot. He was really putting forth that effort.
Yeah, because we have not gotten that effort out of him since the early 2000s.
We haven't gotten Adam Sandler really working his ass off since.
I mean, like, I feel like 50 First Dates is probably like one of the last ones.
I was going to say it's between The Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates. It's within that same time period. Although his dramatic stuff has been really, really good.
Well, yeah. And when I say Adam Sandler's not trying, I mean with his original stuff, like with the stuff that he writes and directs himself.
Right.
Whenever he works on somebody else's project, he's gold every time.
Yeah, Reign Over Me is still probably one of his best performances ever.
So good.
And this most recent one, the basketball one, that was really, really good too.
I don't think I haven't seen that.
The Netflix basketball one, it was pretty good. I
have not seen that one.
Dude, he's married to Queen Latifah in that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, got time for Queen Latifah too. So so next week, Airheads, which is gonna basically lead us into our transition into Jack Black Timber. But we're gonna go there by finishing off our Summer of Song with the Pick of Destiny by Tenacious D. So check out with us in 2 weeks for that, and then we move from there into Jack Black Timber because why the hell not?
Which is gonna be just a roller coaster of like
performances
of fun and inappropriate and didn't age well.
Yeah.
And held up pretty okay. And we're going to be all over the place that month.
And some muscles.
Uh-huh.
A few muscles.
But anyway, we'll be back here next time. Make sure you rate, review, subscribe, etc., and we will talk to you next time.
Take care, everybody.
Take a trip with us to Nilbog. Just promise not to drink the goo. If you get sucked into the Matrix, we will send a phone for you.
Do you believe in fate?
But every movie has a plot hole, and every hole gets filled somehow with whiskey, wine, or blue milk. Just don't cut me off right now. We're the Plotaholics, a breakfast club of two. We're the Plotaholics, ripping plots apart for you.
Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.